I'm just Nick, and this is the ZVEX Instant Lo-Fi Junky. This, as far as I know, is a completely unique pedal. The only thing that it even resembles remotely is the pedal from which it's derived, another ZVEX pedal, which is called the Lo-Fi Loop Junky. Loop Junky. The Lo-Fi Loop Junky. That pedal was a looper, which had circuitry that introduced a kind of lo-fi tonality and certain artifacts into your loop. Very cool pedal. This pedal attempts, and I think succeeds, in capturing the same lo-fi vibe in real time without the loop. And it does this by combining two fairly common types of circuits in a really interesting way. The first circuit, or is it the second? I couldn't tell you. The one over on this side is a compressor. And not a transparent compressor, but one that you can definitely hear working. It's colored and really kind of present. We can hear the compressor by itself by turning this middle knob full counterclockwise to the comp position. It's a knob that's marked lo-fi on one end and comp on the other. We're going to full comp. And we should basically get a pretty clean but very present compressor, and it definitely has some coloration. Let's hear the sound without the comp on. Now we're going to turn the comp on. Tons and tons of sustain. Even with a completely clean amp and fairly low output pickups, really reducing the dynamic range and raising the average volume while attenuating the piece, as a compressor does, giving you that squashed quality. And I'm not a big guitar compressor pedal guy, but I like this one because it has a very distinctive character to it, and you can use it as you would a standard guitar compressor to play funk, for instance. To kind of give you that very tight Nile Rodgers type of sort of compressed shank sound. You could use it for country picking as well. But that, of course, is only the beginning of what this pedal can do. Because when you move this middle knob away from the comp side to the middle of its range, you begin to engage the modulation portion of this pedal, which is a chorusing circuit, and one with a really interesting range and some other options we'll get to in a second. So now let's listen to what the compressor and the chorus together sound like. Right away you notice that this modulation has a different feel. It sounds a bit chorusy, sounds a bit phasey, almost a bit flangy, but working in combination with the compressor, it has a very sort of dynamic feel to it, which is sort of odd because the compressor reduces dynamic range. But I think what we're experiencing, this is a bit of a guess because I don't really know how this circuit is put together or works, but what I think we're experiencing is the compressor increasing sustain and then slowly letting go, letting the note decay. So we have a different dynamic to what you're playing, and it's kind of interacting in interesting ways with the modulation circuit. So it gives it a richer, more lively quality. A lot of modulations, especially choruses, can sound like they're just slopped right on top of your tone and sitting there. They can become fatiguing because they're not very dynamic. And yet, this doesn't have that quality at all. It seems to be constantly changing and changing with the tonality of what you play and the dynamics of what you play, which is super cool. Of course, you can get more extreme with it. We can turn the lo-fi comp knob more to lo-fi to kind of darken and thicken things up. We have a tone knob to control the coloration of the modulation, and we could go deeper and faster, deeper, faster with the modulation itself, and begin to get some very thick sort of C6 sounds. Again, the compressor working with the modulation, introducing a whole other type of tonality to things. Now, we haven't talked about what I think is perhaps the most exciting feature on the box, which is this 3-position switch at the top that controls the curve or waveform of the sweeping of this modulation. Right now, it's been this whole time, except when I was doing the initial demo playing, it's been in the sine wave position for a smooth sweep. The middle position is a triangle wave position to give us a little bit more of a sharp sweep, a little bit more of a spike to it. But when we get to the square wave position is where it gets really exciting. It's exciting to me is because it has a lot of the sort of rhythmic quality of a delay, but it's decaying in a very different way. And it almost sounds like a tape loop or a mellotron or, you know, a very short tape loop. Of course, we can go much longer with the speed. And really starts to have a strange, oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong direction. Have a really strange tape loop quality to it. Again, what's striking to me is both the sort of fact that this is a kind of unfamiliar and novel sound, this sort of weird repeating sense with modulation and compression, but that its timbre seems to change with your playing and as the note decays. And again, I got to think that has to do with the compressor releasing as the note or as the signal weakens and dies away. And again, that's a quality that a tape delay often has. The way a tape delay decays is kind of very distinctive and very dynamic. It's just cool. I mean, really, could yak for a really long time about this, but basically, it's cool. And I don't know of anything else like it, and I can think of a whole lot of musical applications for it. So my suggestion is that you get a hold of the folks at Rock and Roll Vintage, and they will hook you up with an instant lo-fi junkie. Until next time.